Hello, friends. Welcome back to the second episode of the Say Gay podcast. You guys, my name is Toby Cuffle, and I am your host. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can probably tell that I'm wearing the same outfit because I'm actually recording this on the same day because I wanted to put out at least 2 episodes for you guys for the first week. So this is episode 2, you guys, and today I wanted to talk about my coming out experience and kind of how that looked for me and whatnot. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a lot in this podcast is, coming out experiences, because I think that is what kind of helps people, is kind of hearing how other people's journeys go. So I wanted to share mine obviously right away because, I'm the host and everything, and I wanted to give you guys kind of an insight of, my journey and who I am as a person and everything. So, yeah, let's get right into it, you guys. So first off, what do I identify as? So I identify as a gay male. I have been out since I was, I believe, 17. I think I came out in 2017. So I have it tattooed on my arm, actually. Yeah, 17. No, 16. Sorry, you guys. I literally have it tattooed. I have a matching tattoo with my mom of the date I came out, as well as a matching rainbow tattoo. If you guys, I love the whole rainbow, you guys. I'm obsessed with it. I got this a long time ago before, the other colors were added for the all-inclusive flag, which I love the all-inclusive flag 100%. So maybe I'll get those other colors added to my tattoo, but I got my rainbow tattoo when I was pretty young. I think about a year after I came out. So anyways, you guys, I identify as a gay male and my pronouns are he, him. And yeah, I came out in 2016. The first, my whole journey, actually, I want to kind of take it back a little bit of kind of how I, came to realize that I was gay and like what, that kind of looked like for me. So, all of like middle school and high school, I was like the very shy kid. I was very quiet. I just kind of flowed with whatever was going on. I wasn't like Mr. Popular. People liked me. Like people never really, talk crap about me. I'm from Wisconsin, you guys. I'm from a very small town in Wisconsin. Shout out Rice Lake, Wisconsin. If anybody is listening is from there. That is where I'm from. If you guys know where that is, a lot of people, I live in Austin, Texas now, you guys, and I'm a bartender. And so when people hear that I'm from Wisconsin, they're like, "You're from Wisconsin?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like for the way that I dress, the way that I talk, the way that I act, like no one would ever know that I'm from Wisconsin. You can tell the way I talk that I'm not from Texas because, I say like bag and whatnot. So anybody getting up in here who's like, "You say bag wrong." Like, I know, you guys, there's so many things that we say so different in Wisconsin compared to Texas. So it's so funny to hear that, language like barrier, I guess, in a way. But anyways, back when I was, like I said, when I was in like middle school, high school, I wasn't like Mr. Popular. I didn't dress any different way. I didn't act any different way. I kind of had like, in middle school or like high school when you have those like little relationships where it's like, I don't know. I had those like weird relationships where it was like you never really talked to them and whatnot. And so I always dated I dated girls, but never like long term and never ever like anything serious. And so that was kind of like my middle school experience. And then when I got into high school, I was so quiet. I was so introverted, and everyone who I kind of came to or I was like friends with was upperclassmen. And so when they graduated, I was like, "Oh my God, like I have no friends and whatnot." And so that was kind of my freshman year of high school. And so how my high school worked, you guys, is we had like a normal high school, which was just Rice Lake High School. Shout out if you go there, guys. And then we also had like I don't like calling it the alternative school. We actually called it the charter school because we had the charter school and the alternative school. The alternative school was kind of like what people always are like the bad kids go there. And then the charter school was kind of like the different types of learning. And so my sophomore year, excuse me, I had like a really good friend that went to the charter school. And so she was like, "Hey, you should like check it out, And so my whole high school experience, like people were like, "Oh my God, the charter school is for weird kids." And so I was just like, I didn't know much about it. So I was like, why not just try it out and let's see what it is. Let's see what it's all about. And so my sophomore year, I decided to go over to the my junior year is when, after my sophomore year, graduating sophomore year, I don't even know what you call that. After passing sophomore year, I decided to check out the charter school, go there for my junior year. And so during my junior year is when I kind of started to realize that, you can be whoever you want to be. And I always say this, I am so unbelievably grateful for the charter school. It is very sad, you guys, it's not even open anymore. It's called Northern Lakes Regional Academy, NLRA. Shout out to anyone listening that went there. Y'all, I love every single person that went there. Like, we were such a close-knit, like, group of classmen. It didn't matter what grade everybody was in. Like, everyone was so close and the teachers were so accepting. And I fully owe it to that school of like why I am who I am today, because I felt so accepted there and whatnot. So huge shout out to that school. I will literally never forget the school, and I will never forget all the teachers there, because they made me feel so accepted. And I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today if I never went to that school. So when I went there my junior year, that's kind of when I realized like I was not your typical, just straight person. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know. I never ever thought that I was gay, even though like I look back a lot of things now and I'm like, how did I not know I was gay? Like, what? And so my junior year, I actually downloaded a little dating app because one of my best friends was on it. And I was like, it was like a dating app / friends app. And so I was like, I'm going to download it and just kind of see what I feel like on here and see who I can talk to and like whatnot and see who I can make friends with. And so when I was making the little dating profile, I was like, I decided to put that I was bisexual because I was like, I want to talk to everyone, like, why not? And so that was like another thing that I'm like, how did I not realize that I was gay? Because I literally put that because I wanted to talk to like all types of people. So whatever, I decided to do that, and I met this guy. I'm not gonna say anyone's names of like all the people that I was dating because I don't want them to be, thrown out there and whatnot if they're not comfortable with it. So I met this guy and we talked for a really long time. And he was like, are you gay, straight, bi, like, what are you? And I was like, I honestly have no idea. Like, I've never talked to a guy, never had feelings for a guy and everything. And he was like the most supportive person in the entire world. And so at that point, me and him were talking for a really long time, and I hadn't come out to anybody. I didn't talk to anybody about it because I was so scared, because I had no idea, what my family was going to say, what my friends were going to say, what my classmates were going to say. And so I was terrified to say anything to anybody about it. And so me and him talked for a long time. We would FaceTime every night, or we would text, call, whatever. And every night I'd be up in my bedroom and my parents would like come up there to be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you on the phone? And I was like, oh, I'm not talking to anybody. And I'd like hide my phone and be like, I'm just chilling, just watching TV. And they were like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know if they ever really got suspicious, but I think they knew that I was talking to someone, because obviously we lived in the same house together. Like, they could hear me talking to people, but I hid it for a really long time that I was talking to anybody. And so after a while, me and him were like talking a lot, and I was like, I think I'm gay. Like, I definitely had feelings for him, and it was such an odd feeling that I was like, is it normal to have feelings for a guy? Like, I was like, I don't get this. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I was so young at the time. Like, I was literally like 16 going on 17. Like, I was like so confused about the whole thing. And so at that point, I was like, I definitely feel like I need to talk to someone about this. And so my best friend at the time, her name is Nicole. I will give her a little shout out. I'll give all my best friends a little shout out, you guys. One of my best friends' names is Nicole. And so me and her were from the same hometown. She was actually a grade below me. And she didn't go to the same school that I went to. I went to the charter school at the time, and she went to the normal high school. And so, we would always drive each other, like I would drive her to school and back, because we were like neighbors and whatnot. We would hang out all the time. And so I was at school one day and I was like, okay, I'm gonna write her a letter, you guys, because I was so scared to come out, because I was like, I can't do this in person. Like, I was terrified. And so I wrote her like this long letter, and I was like, I still have the letter to this day, you guys. If I can find it, I'm sure I can find it somewhere. I think it's in my Google account somewhere. I will read it for you guys someday, because I still look back at it now and I'm like, girl, what the hell was I doing? Like, the way I was like wording it, I was like so terrified, you could tell. But I decided to write her this letter, and I like in the letter, I was like, you're one of my best friends, and I feel like you're gonna be someone who accepts me, and that's why I feel so comfortable telling you this, even though I wasn't comfortable, because I literally wrote her a letter instead of telling her in person. And I was like, I think I'm gay. I actually didn't even say that. I was like, I have been talking to this guy, and like, we've been talking for a long time. I have feelings for him, and I don't know if this means I'm gay or bi, or what does it mean, and blah, blah, blah. And I went through all those little motions of like, am I just confused? Am I gay? Am I straight? Am I bi? Like, I had no idea. And so I wrote her this letter, and I drove her home one day, and I was like, oh, okay, like, I'll see you later. And then she was like, oh, okay, bye. And I was like, hey, wait. And then I like gave her the letter, and I was like, hey, can you read this, but don't read it until after I leave. And she was like, okay. And she was like, oh, okay, bye. And like, she walked off, went into her house, and I sped out of there. I was like, get me home. Like, oh my God, I'm terrified. And so I got home, and I remember she was like, she texted me, and she was like, oh my God, like, that is so okay. Like, I definitely accept you. Like, I don't care at all that you're gay. Like, I 100%, like, I don't hate on you whatsoever. Like, I 100% support you no matter what. And so that was my first person that I ever came out to, you guys. Was my best friend Nicole. And so after that, the people coming out to was like a lot easier after that, except for my parents, you guys. I will get into the parent story, but after that, I actually, at the time I worked retail, I was a customer service, I was a cashier, I think, at the time. And actually one of my bosses was a lesbian, and her wife also worked there. At the same store as us, and I think she was like the next person I came out to, and then I came out to another one of my coworkers. And there was always like this back thing in my mind of like, what are you gonna tell your parents? Like, you have to tell your parents, you know, like, this is who you are, like, as a person, you can't hide this forever. And so I was terrified, you guys. And so one day I was hanging out with Nicole, and she was like, you need to tell your parents, like, you need to just get it out of the way so you can be open with them on the guy you're talking to and everything, because they were honestly catching on at this point. They were like, you talk to him every day. Like, they knew that I was talking to somebody. And so Nicole was like, you know, you have to tell them eventually, like, you have to get into it. And so one day, she came over, and we were all sitting in the kitchen, and I remember shaking, like, I was terrified. And so my parents were, they walked outside, and I was talking to Nicole, and she was like, okay, you need to do it. Like, when they come back in, just tell them. And I was like, I'm scared. Like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't want to tell them. And so they came back inside, and Nicole, of course, was like, Toby needs to tell you something. And I was like, oh God. And I was like, I literally could not do it, you guys. Like, I was so scared to tell them. And even having Nicole there, like, I was still scared. Like, I was like, I can't do it. Like, I can't tell them. And so I like had to walk out of the kitchen, and I was like, Nicole, you just tell them. And Nicole, you know, told them. She was like, you know, Toby's been talking to this guy. And then she was like, well, that's pretty much it. Like, he's talking to a guy, like, he's gay. And I remember walking back into the kitchen, and my parents were just kind of standing there, and like, my mom, I think, was shocked, just to kind of hear it. But they both were kind of like, we kind of knew already. Like, I think a lot of parents already know that their child is gay or whatnot before they even come out, you guys. Like, I don't think it's ever shocking to them. And so when I came out, they were shocked at first, and then I remember the night kind of went on as normal. I brought Nicole home, and then I went back home, and I was gonna go call the guy I was talking to. I don't want to say his name, sorry, you guys. I was gonna go call the guy I was talking to, and my mom was like, hey, can we talk first? And I was like, oh God, this is it. Like, they're not accepting. Like, oh, I was terrified. And my parents were like, you know, like, we just want to be sure that you're sure with this, you're okay with it and everything. And I was like, yeah, like, this is definitely who I am as a person. And kind of, that was the journey that I wanted to go. I don't want to call it the journey, because that was just my life. It was who I was. And I felt so much relief coming out to them. And so, you know, I came out to them. And then after that, it was kind of just like, whatever. Like, it was, my family started to find out, because my dad ended up telling everyone else in my family, because they're like, I'm not super close with a lot of my other family members, because my mom is my literal best friend in the entire world. Like, I love her so much. And she was the most important person that I wanted to tell. And then my dad kind of told everyone else after that. And the rest of my extended family. And then I told my brother, so I have a brother and a sister, you guys. And so I told my brother, sat down with him, and he was like, yeah, I already knew. And I was like, what? And he was like, I mean, it just was obvious. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was honestly what a lot of people said to me, was like, that it was kind of obvious that I was gay. It was just, they were waiting until I came out. And so obviously everyone else knew before I did, apparently, because I had no idea for my entire 17 years of life before I came out. And so, after that, you guys, it got like pretty easy. I mean, there was definitely people that didn't accept me. There was people, you know, even in my own family that didn't accept me. And that is kind of something that I had to learn on the journey of coming out and, you know, being who I wanted to be as a person, is that, you know, not every single person is going to accept you, even if it's, you know, your own family members that you've been, you know, close with for a long time. And I don't want to say I've lost a lot of family over the years, but honestly, like, I've lost a lot of family members that I was very, very close to, just because, you know, they'll say things behind your back about you being gay and whatnot. Like, I don't want to get too much into my family, because I don't know how much my family's going to listen to this, and I don't really think that I don't know. I don't know what they think about me anymore. I don't really care that much because, you know, I have friends that are like I'm really, really close to. And honestly, I consider my friends more family than my own family sometimes just because they're so much more like fun and accepting in a way. Like I've had lots of family, like I've had aunts and uncles say like, you know, what am I supposed to tell my child now that, you know, that person's gay, and are we not allowed to make gay jokes anymore? And I'm like, that is so like, excuse my language, but that is so shitty of people to say. Like it's really shitty, but it's just one of those things that I kind of had to deal with. And I grew up with a very thick skin, especially like I going to that charter school, you guys, I got a lot of people from the normal school of like, you know, saying a lot of stuff about us. And so that was kind of something that I grew up with pretty thick skin and whatnot, and coming out and like going on the whole journey of, you know, being gay and like being who I wanted to be as a person. Like I had very, very thick skin just because I had to, like I had to like, I don't want to say I had to grow up really quick, but I had to get thick skin pretty quick because people weren't accepting, you know, and I came out, I think when I came out, I don't even know if gay marriage was legal yet. Like I remember when gay marriage got legalized, and I don't think I was gay yet. Like I didn't realize I was gay yet. And so I was like celebrating because I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And you know, my one coworker, my boss was gay, and like I loved her to death, you guys. Like I loved her so much. And like I remember going to her wedding and everything, and I was like, I love this. Like I love gay people. Like they're so fun. And yeah, like I don't know. Like I said, I had to grow up with thick skin pretty quick just with how my family was and everything. And, you know, a lot of people just saying very shitty things to me. Even like my whole like middle school and high school experience, I always had people saying like, they're like, you're gay, like the way you talk, your voice, and they're like, you're gay. And I was like, I'm not gay. Like, no. And then I was gay. Like they all knew. But yeah, I mean, that was my journey with coming out to like my friends and family and whatnot. And even like, I mean, the way that I dress and the way that I look now, like I haven't had to come out to somebody in so long, you guys. People just assume, I assume that people assume I'm gay. And if they do assume I'm gay, that is fine, because obviously I dress in a very gay way. Like my shirt, you guys, literally, I didn't even say this. My shirt says kiss whoever the fuck you want, because literally kiss whoever the fuck you want, guys. I love it. I love the gay community. But yeah, I mean, like, that was kind of my coming out journey with that and everything. And then even like getting older, like there was a lot more other than just like coming out and being gay. Like I explored a lot of like my own, you know, like dating life and like sexuality and just everything of like, what did I want to do? Because obviously in the gay community, there is so much of like sexually wise, like there's so much of like top, bottom, keeping yourself sexually safe, and then like, you know, other sexual things that you guys can do. And so I definitely like kind of figure that out. And that was something like safe sex. Like I didn't know, because you guys, when you're in high school and you have like the sex talk and like the whole sexual everything, there is nothing in there about being gay and protecting yourself gay, like sexually. Like there's nothing. Like they just say, you know, really, at least in my high school, I don't know about y'all high school, but like my high school only ever talked about like straight dating, straight sex, and how to protect yourself, and you can get pregnant and all this stuff. And so I didn't know much other than that you should use a condom, and then even obviously being gay, like you kind of have to use lube. And so that was like the only things I ever really knew was like use a condom. And so even when I lost my virginity, like I remember like I'm terrified. Like I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I knew absolutely nothing. And sex is definitely a topic that we can talk about more and deep dive into it more into this podcast, you guys. But when I was like that whole journey of like having sexual encounters, like I had no fucking clue what I was doing, because I was like terrified. Like I didn't know anything. And so the first person that I ever lost my virginity to was actually bisexual. And so him and I actually took each other's virginity. I am proud to be a Gold Star gay, you guys. If you guys don't know what a Gold Star gay is, actually someone who has never had straight sex, who is gay. And so I've never had straight sex. I've never had sex with a woman. I've only ever had sex with men. And so I'm a Gold Star gay. I'm proud of it. Kind of. I mean, it's one of those stupid things that like people always talk about. They're like, oh my God, you're a Gold Star gay. Like, would you ever be with a woman? I'm like, hell to the no. I'm sorry, you guys. I love my women. I love the female community. I love y'all so much. But I would never ever date a woman. I would never be sexual with a woman. I'm so sorry. That is just not my type whatsoever. The same as maybe a woman would never be with a gay man. I don't actually know. Is that a thing, you guys? Will women ever be with a gay man? I mean, if they would be with a gay man, I don't know. I don't know how that all works. But would never be with a woman. So yeah, I mean, even like sexually wise, like had to figure a lot of that out of like how to be safe and like how to protect myself. And there is so many ways to protect yourself sexually, you guys. There are so many more options out there now than there was before. Obviously, like there's been so many things in the past of people, you know, dying because of HIV and all of that stuff. And so that is definitely something I want to talk about in this podcast as well, as like protecting yourself sexually. You know, you can get on PrEP, you can use condoms, like whatnot. I will say, you guys, in the gay community, everybody hates using condoms. Like, I will 100% tell you guys that, is people hate using condoms. Like, it's just insane. But people are very open about talking about, you know, protecting themselves sexually in the gay community. You know, they'll say like, hey, I got tested this time, like, at least in my experience with that and whatnot. And I will say, you guys, I haven't had to like experiment sexually in a very, very long time, because I've actually been in a committed relationship for about 6 years. We're going on 6 years in May. I'm actually engaged to my fiance. His name is Gage, and I actually also have another boyfriend. His name is Nick. So I am in a polyamorous relationship. Not an open relationship. I would never call it an open relationship, because we are not open with anybody else. We are just close together. But I call it a throuple. And that is another thing that I had to experience, you know, kind of in the whole journey of, you know, I don't want to say my journey of coming out, but my journey of like realizing what I want in life. And so personally, I haven't had to like experience a lot of that, you know, keeping yourself safe sexually and whatnot. So that is definitely a podcast that I will talk about eventually. And I definitely want to bring somebody else on with that one, because there's a lot of people that have more experiences than I do of like, you know, having to protect yourself and whatnot and what you had to do. And so that is something we will definitely talk about, you guys. So hopefully that will help a lot of people out as well, because that is something that is not talked about very often, especially in schools and whatnot. So we'll definitely get into that. But, you know, kind of the next like steps of my coming out journey, you guys, is, you know, I experimented a lot with like what I guess like clothing wise, and how I wanted to act and how I wanted to dress and how I wanted to talk and whatnot. And so my circle of friends that I had at the time was very, very supportive of like everything that I wanted to do. And even my mom was very supportive and whatnot. And so I never dressed like, coming from a very small town in Wisconsin, you guys, I never like dressed the way that I wanted to. I never really experimented with a lot of that, just because I didn't really know if it would be accepted. And so even the way that I would dress was like very different, like compared to a lot of other people. And so, a lot of other straight people, I guess you could say. And so, that was kind of my experience of like dressing how I wanted, and, you know, being affectionate with your person in public. Like I said, me and my fiance Gage, we're both from this similar small towns in Wisconsin. We lived about an hour-ish away from each other, 45 minutes, not even. And, you know, when we would be out in public, like if we were holding hands or being affectionate whatsoever, we got a lot of dirty stares. And so like, that was just something that we kind of had to deal with. Like I said, I grew up with very thick skin, and I feel like he did too, because he went through a lot as a child. And so I will definitely bring him on this podcast too, because, you know, he's probably had an experience that a lot of people can relate to. I think a lot of people, if you're from a small town, you can relate to most of our stories, just because, you know, we've had to deal with a lot of adversity or a lot of different things. And so that was something that we will definitely dive into more with him and from his perspective. But for me, it was a lot of having to deal with like the stares and whatnot of other people, like judgment and whatnot. And so it's very shitty, but, you know, there's something that, you know, makes you grow up with even thicker skin even more than, you know, before. And so, you know, it was one of those things that like we would get dirty stares and it was just kind of ignore it and whatnot. We never really had people, you know, like face to face saying anything ugly. I mean, obviously I am, like I said, like I have my rainbow tattoo. I have my tattoos all over. I have piercings. And when I worked my retail job, I had to deal with a lot of people that were fucking assholes. And so, people would come up and, you know, they would like say those nasty things of like, I had a guy come up one time, and I don't mean for this word to trigger anybody, because I don't even like saying this word. It's a really shitty word to say. A lot of people, I think, throw it out there a lot because they think that they can. But he came up and he got mad with me, and he was like, fucking faggot. And I was like, sir, like, you need to go, like, get out of my face and whatnot. And so that was like kind of my first experience ever having someone say it to my face. And I was just kind of like, I literally turned to him and I was like, have a good day, because I worked retail and I knew to just kind of deal with those things and however I needed to. And so I never really let it bother me as much as it might have, because I think a lot of people can get really, really bothered by those things. But for me, it was kind of something that I was just kind of like, you know, you're going to say what you want to say. It's you're being ugly on the inside. It's not me. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. If you want to say that to me, if you want to say that, then go right ahead. But like, it's not me. I'm not going to let you ruin my day just by saying something like that. So that was kind of my first experience of ever having something in person said to me. And so, kind of on my journey after high school, I moved around a lot of Wisconsin with Gage. Him and I moved to La Crosse, Wisconsin. Shout out La Crosse. I loved living there. It was so much fun. I met so many amazing people there. And then we moved back to our hometown. We moved to Minnesota. I lived in Apple Valley, Minnesota. And, got to experience that. The Apple Valley, Minneapolis in general, was where I experienced my first gay club. It was so much fun. It was called, oh my God, what was that club called? I don't even remember. It was one of the main gay clubs in Minneapolis area. And so that was my first ever experience going to a gay club. I went with my best friend and her boyfriend, and it was so much fun. You guys, that was 2020, right before COVID ended up happening. We were at that club, and it was just so much fun. And so, kind of living in Minnesota, I got to experience a lot of different things in life of, being affectionate in public and having friends in the community. Like, that was my first time ever having like a lot of gay friends, because where I came from in Rice Lake, there wasn't a lot of gay people. Like, the community was very, very small. And it was kind of toxic where we were from, because everyone kind of dated each other, because it was like 6 gay people. And so everyone kind of had either dated or messed around with each other. And so, I didn't have a lot of gay friends in Rice Lake. And so Minnesota is where I had like a lot of my gay friends. And so, it was just a lot of fun. Like, it was so much fun having that experience and whatnot. And Minneapolis, St. Paul area is actually pretty accepting. I would say, for me at least, it was. We never got like a lot of dirty stares or anything. Like, there was a lot of people that were accepting of the community, and lots of gay friends that we had. So there was a lot of gay people in the community there. So I really, really loved living there. And then after Minnesota, we ended up moving back home, and then we moved to Austin, Texas this past year in 2022. And Austin, Texas, I will say, you guys, is the #1 place that I have had the most fun and the most acceptance I've ever had in my entire life. And Austin is where I've definitely realized, like, I can be whoever the hell I want to be down here, because, Austin's slogan is literally keep Austin weird. And so I've gotten to like completely be whoever I want to be. So I've absolutely loved it here. And I don't know if I would have ever started this podcast if I didn't live in Austin, you guys. Honestly, like, I don't know, because like living here and like, having the gay community and everything, like, has definitely made me feel like I can do whatever I want to do. And I've absolutely loved living here. So, moving down here at first, Gage and I moved down here together, and this was before we ever met Nick. And you guys will definitely meet Nick on this podcast. And he is like so excited about being on this podcast. Like, he keeps saying, he's like, I'm gonna be on it. And so, I'll probably bring him on eventually, as well as Gage and everything. And so moving down here originally, Gage and I just moved down here because we just wanted something new. Like, we were like, we're so sick of Wisconsin, like sick of living there. And so we just decided literally to pack up our shit one day, and we just moved. Like, we were driving around Wisconsin one day, and we were like, we're so bored. And we had planned on moving for a long time. We just didn't know where. And I threw out the idea of Austin, Texas, because we had visited Dallas a few times. And so I was like, Austin is like one of the gay capitals of the world. Like, there are so many gay people here, and it's very, very accepting. And so we were like, why not move to Austin? Like, let's just do it. And so we had never visited here before. And like, literally we were driving around Wisconsin one day, and we were like, why don't we just move? And Gage and I were like, why don't we? Let's just do it. And so we went home, and I told my mom, and I was like, we're going to move. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, we're going to move. Like, we're so sick of living here. And she was like, okay, do it. And so we packed up our shit and literally left like a week later and moved to Austin. And so we moved here at the end of April, I believe is when it was. Didn't know anybody. We literally knew nobody. We got an Airbnb the first 2 months that we lived here. And after the first month of living here, we actually met Nick. And that's when we had our own little group of friends at the time. And it was, oh my God, I love my friends, you guys. I definitely want to bring a lot of my friends on here because I fucking love them. Like, they're my besties. Like, they're just so sweet. And I can't get enough of them. I love them so much. And the second month that we lived here is when we actually met Nick. And so Gage actually met Nick through a facility that he worked at. He was working at a nursing home because Gage is actually a CNA. He's been doing CNA work for a very, very long time. Gage is a motherfucking hustler, you guys, like 100%. And he was working at a nursing home facility up here in Hutto, Texas is actually where I live currently. And he was working in a facility up here, and one of his coworkers was like, oh my God, you should meet my friend Nick. Like, he used to work here or something. And so Nick went over there, he met Gage, and then they were talking for a while. And then we were actually in, I think it was Pride Month actually, and June is Pride Month, I believe. Because I'm a horrible gay person, I don't even know when Pride Month is. But we were in Pride Month, and we actually, I remember Gage was talking to Nick for a while, and then Nick ended up adding me on Snapchat, and there was like this Pride event that we were supposed to go to, and so I made the mistake. You guys, I'm from Wisconsin. I love drinking. I don't know. I love drinking so much, you guys. And so one of my friends came over and she was like, oh my God, let's pregame before we go to this event. You guys, this event started at like 3 p.m. and we were supposed to make it till 2 a.m. And so she came over and she's like, I'm gonna get ready at your house and then we'll pregame. And I was like, okay, girl, like, let's do it. And she was like, well, all I have is tequila. If you guys know me, I hate tequila. I love vodka. I do not like tequila. I think it's nasty. I'm sorry if you guys like tequila. I just think it's gross. And so I was like, whatever, we'll just pregame with the tequila. And we had some Trulies. And so it was not supposed to be a pregame, you guys. I have said this to this day. It was not supposed to be a pregame. And so all of my friends were coming over and they're like, oh my God, let's pregame. And I was like, y'all, we're going to be drunk by the time we get there. And so we got to this event and, it was a Pride bar crawl. And so we go to this bar crawl. You know, we made it to like 3 bars and we were all like, we're fucking exhausted. And Texas heat is no joke, you guys. It was so hot that day. And so we literally went to this event and I made it till about midnight that night. And that was the night we were actually supposed to meet Nick. And I literally couldn't. I was like, I need to go home. And Gage was like, are you sure? And I was like, I need to go home. Like, I need to go to bed. I have a freaking headache. And so we ended up not meeting Nick that day. And then I think it was a few days later that I actually ended up meeting Nick. And we had like this whole like day together and everything. And then, you know, the idea of a throuple never really crossed my head of like being in a poly relationship. I knew nothing about poly relationships. And so Nick was the one that actually threw out the idea of like, you know, we could be a throuple. And I remember the first time I ever met Nick, I was so confused because I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how I can like 2 people. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so, you know, it's kind of like, it was just kind of history from there. Like, we met, we hung out, and then after that, we literally hung out like all the time. And, you know, now we all live together and we're like this little throuple. And this month we'll be dating 6 months. So, you know, it's been great. Like, I actually love having 2 boyfriends. Like, I don't know. I am a needy person. I love attention. But I also love my alone time. So I don't know, for some reason it just kind of works out for us. Like, it works out in a really good way. And it's definitely some like an experience of like the gay community that like I didn't even know existed. And so, it's been fun. Like, I definitely like just have really a good time with it and everything. So yeah, another topic that I wanted to talk about within this coming out journey, you guys, is like definitely like clothing and like living who I wanted to be. So, you know, in the first like year that I came out, you guys, I went crazy. When I turned 18, I went crazy with piercings and tattoos. Like, I obviously, like, I have a bunch of tattoos here on my arm. I have one on my upper arm. I have my rainbow. I have one behind my ear. I have one on my back. I have one on my leg. Like, I'm obsessed with tattoos. And so tattoos was something that I definitely did a lot of. And I don't think tattoos make you gay whatsoever, but that was some like me expressing myself and how I wanted to, because I think tattoos is art in a way. And so that was me expressing myself. And then I went crazy with piercings. I don't think piercings are gay whatsoever, you guys, but apparently other people think that. I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh my God, if you have a piercing, you're gay. Like, I just think that's so stupid. But I went crazy with piercings. I used to have like a bunch here, like I had a bunch over here. I had my nose pierced. Like, I went crazy with piercings. And so that was me kind of expressing myself through like different types of like fashion and style and whatnot. And then when I moved down to Austin, you guys, I definitely got to experience a lot when it came to like dress and fashion. You know, I was terrified to dress how I wanted to dress. Like, I would always, like, when I lived in Minnesota, I would wear, like, I don't want to say, like, short shorts, but, like, I would wear, like, shorter shorts. And so that was something that I loved wearing. Like, it was just something that I really liked. I love wearing tighter jeans. And then when it came to, like, clothing, like, moving down to Austin, like, that was when I kind of experimented of, like, you know, what are the type of clothing that I actually want to wear? And so, you know, I experimented with, like, wearing crop tops. When I was in high school, I experimented with wearing makeup, you guys. Like, I definitely consider myself, like, more of, like, a feminine gay person, and that is 100% okay. You guys can be whatever the hell you want to be. Like, if you want to be more feminine, if you want to be more masculine, like, you can be whoever you want to be. And that's not even in the gay community, you guys. That is straight gay, whoever the fuck you want to be. Be who you want to be, you guys. And so, literally, like my shirt, kiss whoever the fuck you want. And so, that was kind of something I got to experience a lot moving down here. And now I kind of dress however the hell I want to dress because it makes me happy. Like, I love fashion, I love clothing. And so, I love just kind of dressing how I want to dress because I want to be who I want to be. I want to be happy with myself. And so, that was something I loved experiencing as well, being in the community and whatnot. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, you guys, like, I feel like that's kind of my coming out experience. Like, I feel like that is my journey of coming out. I mean, obviously, I've dealt with a lot of different things. I've dealt with adversity. I've dealt with people saying, things to my face and whatnot. And, it sucks dealing with those things because nobody should have to deal with that. It's definitely shitty to have to deal with those things. But, if you can find those people that support you no matter what, you definitely want to stick with those people. I've had, my number one best friend in the world. Her name is Emily. We literally live across the country from each other because she still lives back in Wisconsin, Minnesota area. And I miss her so much, you guys, but she is my number one best friend, like, because she's been so supportive of me since day one. Like, me and her used to get crazy together, and she's always supported me no matter what, even if our lives are on different, like, wavelengths at the time. Like, we always make time for each other. We always try to, make that time and make our connection. So I definitely think keeping your circle, like, having your circle of people that, you can love and trust and they love you back. Like, for me, you guys, like, my rock is my mom. Like, my mom is my number one. My mom, you guys, is my number one ally in the entire world. Like I said, she has the rainbow tattoo. She has the date I came out. And she has my initials, and she's been my number one supporter throughout my whole entire journey, like 100%. Like, she's always supported me no matter what, and I will always appreciate her for that because, like I said, like, she's my number one. She's my rock and everything. And so I love her so much, you guys. I definitely want to get her on this podcast because she's always the type of person that's like, she's like you guys always see like the picture of that mom that's at Pride, and she, like, the Pride Parade, and it says free mom hugs. If you don't have a mom, like, I'll be your mom. She's 100% that person. And she's not just that person for, like, gay people. She's that person for anybody because she is one of the most accepting and understanding people ever. Like, any community thing that she ever wants to support, like, she will support it no matter what. And I love her so much for that. I miss my mom so much, you guys. She actually still lives back in Wisconsin as well. I'm trying to convince her ass to come down here. And because I miss her so much, and I literally would do anything for her. Like, she is, like I said, she's my rock, and she's been the most number one supporter in my entire life, you guys. And I appreciate her so much. But definitely finding those people, you guys, that you can have as your, have those people in your corner and whatnot, because making that coming out journey for you a lot easier is having those people that are supportive. And even if you guys don't get that support right away or at all, that's kind of it's really, really shitty, but sometimes you have to kind of go off and branch out on your own. Like, I was terrified to come out because I had no idea if my parents were going to be accepting of it. Because I always had this image of, like, growing up, I thought that my, parents would want, like, this macho, like, boy, and I come out being like this feminine, gay little boy, and I would never change that for anything in the world because I love myself so much. But I was terrified because I never thought that I was going to get the acceptance that I always wanted. And so getting that acceptance was very relieving for me, and I'm very happy to have experienced that in life and everything. And so it's just kind of one of those things that you do have to find, like, your people, and you have to find your family. And even if your family, obviously they're going to be your family forever, but, like, you can have chosen family no matter what. And so that's kind of what I did, was find my chosen family. And my friends are definitely my family now, because my family, my extended family, even though I still talk to them and everything, or every once in a while I'll talk to them, like, my grandparents are very, very supportive of everything, and, like, I still talk to some of my family, but, I've had that family that's not super accepting, and it sucks, but it's kind of something that I've had to deal with, and it's definitely given me, like, that thicker skin in a way. And so I appreciate everything that all my family has done for my whole life, but it's kind of me branching out on my own. And that's kind of what my whole move to Austin, Texas was about, was kind of branching out on my own and kind of doing whatever I wanted, and, just kind of experiencing life. And so I definitely have loved living down here, you guys. If you've ever considered a big move to Austin, Texas, I 100% recommend it. I love living here. It's very, very, very accepting. I can literally dress however I want. People are not homophobic whatsoever. The gay clubs down here are amazing. And so obviously we get those people every once in a while in our lives. Like, I don't think you can live anywhere and it's going to be 100% accepting, because I am a bartender at a golf course right now. And so the golf course I work at, people, it's all, like, straighter old men. And so a lot of the older community, they're going to be stuck in their old ways. And I've had people say things to me that are pretty rude, but, it's just kind of one of those things that I kind of have to get over it. And I don't want to say get over it because it's not something that I should have to get over. It's something that they have to get over. And so, like I said, I grew up with a very, very thick skin. I think that's something that a lot of gay people will learn in their kind of journey, or anybody in the LGBTQ plus community. You're going to learn a lot of like having to have thicker skin and learning how to be whoever the fuck you want to be. And so, you know, definitely just do it, you guys. Like, I think if there's any piece of advice that I can give you about coming out is just do it. Like, you should never have to live your entire life in the closet because that's not fair. You deserve to, you know, branch out and be who you want to be and just live your best life. Like, that's 100% my number one tip, especially in 2023, you guys. Like, it's a brand new year. Go live your best life. Like, be the person you want to be and don't let anybody stop you from that. So, I definitely recommend that. But you guys, that's kind of all I got for this podcast. I think I've kind of shared my whole journey. You know, I've been rambling on about it. And so I'm just, that's kind of my journey, you guys. And I obviously, like I told you guys, I really, really want to get that letter and share it with you guys from when it came out to my best friend at the time. And so I will definitely find that letter for you guys and I will read it eventually. And so maybe a letter is the way that you guys are going to come out. You never know. Maybe it'll be your best friend. Maybe it'll be your parents. Maybe it'll be your brother, sister. I don't know. It can be whoever you guys want to be, but definitely being real. Once you're accepted by your friends and family, it's easier to accept yourself, but you kind of have to internally accept yourself as well. And don't ever, you know, if you like need to experience something, you just never know. Like, you just never know, you know, who's going to support you and whatnot. And so I'm so blessed to have supportive people in my life, and you definitely have to find those people. And, you know, if you don't have those people, reach out to me, you guys. I will definitely I'll be your wingman. I'll be your supporter no matter what you're going through. I support everybody in this community no matter what. And so definitely find your circle and go live your best life in 2023, you guys. If you're scared of coming out, just do it. Just jump off the cliff and do it. Don't physically jump off the cliff, but take the leap of faith and just do it, you guys. Like, that's my number one recommendation is just go for it, because you just never ever know. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave the podcast for the day. If you guys want to follow along, go find on all the socials at the Say Gay Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook page. You can find the Spotify. If you guys are listening on Spotify, I love you guys. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for the support, no matter what. And I will be back next Wednesday, you guys. And definitely go follow along on all socials at the Say Gay Podcast. If you guys want to follow me personally, you can find me at callme.tobes on all platforms on Instagram and TikTok. If you guys want to ask me any questions and, you know, ask questions, you guys ask any questions that you guys might have about the podcast, about the journey, about me, anything, and I will answer a question every single podcast. And for now, that's where I'm going to leave you guys at, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.